I started my business over 9 years ago, and since then it has changed a lot. I feel like that's a good thing though, because I started my business when I was like 18 or 19, so if I haven't changed in 9 years, I think that'd be a problem. Today I wanted to share some things that I've learned along the way that I thought would have been nice to know when I was just starting out. I think it's a good reminder to always keep learning new things. If you're not someone who likes to learn new things, I don't really think being a small business owner is really the right path for you, just because there's so many things you need to always be learning from the business side of things, admin, how to respond to emails, taxes, finances, all of these things that go into making a business. You just always have to be eager to learn. And that's not even on the like product development aspect of things or learning new techniques when it comes to your craft. There's just so much you always have to be learning when it comes to your business. So many people want the easy way out of things. They just want the information handed to them. And I don't really think that's the best way to actually learn and grow, because you're not doing it for yourself. And so you don't get to actually see what works. And what works for one person in one business isn't always going to work for you. So I just always recommend to be learning for yourself. I feel like being eager to learn new things has been very beneficial for me. I wanted to learn Premiere on a random cold winter day, and I dove headfirst. That's all I did for like 2 days straight. And since then, it's been a journey, honestly. This is the first year I've kept up with posting to YouTube consistently, and I'm just like learning new things every single week, and it's actually very fun for me. And I think that's what keeps it fun and interesting, is that there's always new techniques in editing styles, and just there's always something new to learn. One of the most important things I've learned is that it's so crucial to stay in your lane. Not in the sense that like don't change niches or anything, but in the sense of like don't compare yourself to what other people are doing, because it's just gonna be detrimental to your creativity. I think you should try to focus mostly on you and what you're doing and what you can improve on. And it's definitely okay to learn from other people, but don't take it to the point where like you're just doing whatever they do because, oh, they're finding success, so I must do it that way too. Because if you're always copying what other people are doing, you're not really finding out who you are either though. I definitely think we've all struggled with this at some point. It's hard to not see what someone else is doing and be like, oh, I should do that too. When you are constantly just chasing that, you're not gonna know what it is that you like, your audience in particular likes, and it won't feel as authentic because truly it's not authentic. I just think that's one of the most important things to remember, is to just keep focused on yourself and be proud of the successes other people are doing, but not envious and not wanting to just beat them, if that makes sense. When I first started, I had no idea how to pay myself, and to be honest, I didn't pay myself for a very long time. It wasn't until I got married that I really thought about how, oh, I should be paying myself. At that point, it had been a few years in, and I didn't really have systems in place for doing this. My profit margins probably weren't as good as they could have been if I would have started out with the intention of paying myself to begin with. I think it would have been beneficial to have better profit margins that allowed me to get paid consistently and not just whenever I felt like it. I definitely paid myself the bare minimum, and I probably still do pay myself the bare minimum, but I'm always someone who likes to save a little bit more money than spend it, and for whatever reason that includes paying myself, I guess. I'm not exactly sure how I would do it, but I would definitely take some time thinking about how to set up your pricing so that you are accounting for paying yourself and how much you need to be making and how you would be able to get there with your sales. I think I took saving money in my business a little bit too far, which leads me to my next point. If you're someone who saves all of your money, this is for you, but if you're pretty comfortable spending money, then this part isn't for you. My advice is to take risks. And I know that sounds like counterintuitive. If you are making money and you are wanting to make a new product, or you have a new idea for something and you have money sitting around and you're not doing anything with that because you just want to keep saving it for something or nothing, then my advice is to just use that money and do the dream you are dreaming of. So like I mentioned previously, it took me years to pay myself. So by the time I started paying myself, it was with money that I had already saved up from years past that had already been taxed on. And I, again, was still not paying myself all that much money. But what that meant is that the money was just sitting there collecting dust and wasn't really getting used for anything to push my business forward. I definitely wasn't putting it in a high yield savings, which I should have been doing, so that it was at least earning interest, but I didn't do that. I didn't know about that. So not only was I not paying myself very well, I wasn't investing in new products, and it wasn't going into high yield saving. Like, I just wasn't setting myself up for financial success. I just was like in the mentality of, I gotta save every dime, I can't spend it, and I only can spend it on the things I absolutely need, not anything that I want, because what if it doesn't sell? And it was just this fear of like it not working out, and then I lost all that money. But if you never try, you can never know if it's going to be a success. It's a lose-lose either way. I'm definitely someone who feels like they need to know everything before they can start anything. I need to get more comfortable in not being good at things, but it's really hard for me. I think that stems from the ADHD, is like being too impatient to suck at something for a long time. Wow, it's really windy all of a sudden. But because of that, I have held back on doing a lot of things in fear of failing it and not being good at it right away. I need to work on that, just like personally and business wise. But I wish I would have known that it's okay to be a beginner and like actually believe that part. I used to think the idea of a target audience was made up. It never really was connecting to me. It made me feel like I was just answering questions and making them up, and like it didn't help me answer how do I talk to them. It didn't even really teach me anything with like what to do with my business and how to take that information that I made up and use it. So I don't love the idea of target audiences, if I'm being honest. Things like what age people are and what apps they are feel like pretty common sense to me. Like most people are going to be millennials or Gen Z. Most people are going to be on Instagram and TikTok. Like I'm not really establishing much information there. And then the questions that were like, what shows do they watch? What stores do they go to? That just feels like I'm making up a random answer because one, how would I know? And two, what is that going to tell me? I just honestly really struggled with the whole concept for a while. But now 9 years later, I feel like I'm kind of at a point where I understand my target audience now. And I do see how it's kind of different on each platform, but I feel like I made it different. Like the content I'm putting out isn't the same on each platform necessarily. So I think that's part of it, maybe. I don't know. I don't think this is something I'm ever going to truly get. And I think that's okay. I think that's okay to know that not everyone really gets this. I now like to focus on what problems are they having, what they want to learn, and what type of content is resonating with them the most. I think that's the most valuable information to learn. No matter how long you're on the internet, at some point someone's gonna steal your designs, whether it's on Etsy, Shein, or Amazon. Someone's gonna do it and it's gonna suck. Don't get so sucked into it that you are just spending hours and hours of your week going through and looking for it and like seeking it out. By all means, I'm not saying don't file DMCAs when you see your artwork stolen, but what I'm saying is don't devote hours of your week looking for it, because it's just gonna really dampen your mood and hinder your creativity. I feel like I only like to file takedowns if someone else tells me, or if I happen to come across it when I'm doing a search for something else. I don't like to go out of my way to find it. More than likely, you will find something, and it sucks, and it's not right. It's a cycle that is hard to get out of once you start down that road. Burnout is temporary, and it does not make you a failure. I wish I would have been more prepared for what burnout actually is and what it was going to feel like and look like and how long it was going to take to get out of it. I was not really prepared for it at all. It probably took me like 6 months to get out of it, but more like a year and a half to feel kind of back to me. It just was a long, unfortunate thing that happened to me. I'd honestly say that burning out in 2022 like changed the future of my business forever. Like I don't think I'm ever going to be able to go back to what it was back then. And sometimes I feel like I'm swinging too far into the not working side of things, and then I feel like I need to work harder, and then it's like this pendulum that keeps swinging back and forth, and I'm trying to figure out my baseline and figure out how to feel content on both ends. But if you are currently burnt out, it's temporary, and you'll find your passion and your joy again. It might just look different and might be hard to accept that it's different, but you will make it out. Growing up, I always knew I wanted to be my own boss. I just liked the idea of being able to do whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. At first, that was really motivating, but at some point it became easy to let myself down and easy to say, oh, I'll do this tomorrow, and then tomorrow never happened. But I think at the beginning, it was a really good thing for me because I was able to just learn a bunch and do a bunch of different things and not really have any pressure and not really have to be put into this mold of anything yet, and it was really fun to just experiment and try new things. But what I've learned now is that being okay at a lot of things doesn't make you good at anything. So I do think it's kind of important to rein it in and focus and get good at a few things and be known for being good at those things. So if you're someone who just does a bunch of things and doesn't really have a defined thing that they're good at, you're not really going to be top of mind when someone needs to recommend you, which you might not care about, but if you do, then I think it's good to rein it in and kind of niche down onto your interests and your focuses and the things you talk about online. I truly don't love the idea of niching down because, like I said, I have ADHD and it's hard for me to just do one thing forever. That's super boring. But maybe niching down for you means sticking to one medium instead of doing like watercolor, acrylic, digital painting, colored pencils, like all these different types of mediums that you draw with. Maybe you stick to just watercolor and you get really good at that and people know you for that and your style develops through that medium. Everything else can just be done on the side and maybe eventually you switch to acrylic or pastels or something like that. I think it is good to be kind of known for a few things versus like a bunch of stuff. It's definitely okay to change your niche and your content that you're talking about. Just make sure that you're not all over the place all the time forever because then it's just going to be confusing. But at the end of the day, though, you got to do what's right for you. And if it's working well for you to be talking about all these things, then keep doing that. I just find it a little bit easier once I've kind of narrowed it down, my talking points, to get ideas for those and not just be thinking about all these things I could talk about. I've now narrowed it down and that actually fuels my inspiration and creativity a little bit more than if the whole world is at my disposal to talk about. So I guess all of this to say, experiment and have fun. It's your own business. You get to do what you want. And these are just some of the things that I have learned along the way that I wish I would have known from the very beginning. I think it's most important to know when it's time to pivot, when something's not working for you, it's time to change. And it's always going to be the best choice to change when things are not feeling right for you because it's most important that you're okay. Make sure you stay true to yourself and have fun with it. I hope you found this helpful or maybe just interesting to listen to. If you have anything you'd like to add, I'd love to hear it and chat more with you in the comments. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!